From a superhero surprise return to a revolution in how we watch movies and the rising power of a new film frontier, we are breaking down the stories that are reshaping the global cinematic landscape right now. Welcome to the Film Mandate. My name is Papa Otu. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to the Film Mandate, where I bring to you movie news, reviews, and reactions, both from the African front and the international scene. And thanks for joining me for this episode of the Film Mandate. And in today's episode, we'll be covering stories from Hugh Jackman, now saying that he's never saying never to playing the character Wolverine if offered the opportunity. That indicates that possibly is he will be appearing in Avengers Doomsday or even Avengers Secret Wars. Well, we'll be delving into that story. And also China, one of China's biggest cinema chain owners, that is Wanda, the Wanda Group, have come up with innovative ways in how to retain customers into their into their cinemas, and particularly their focus being Gen Z. So we'll be talking about our story as well, and also we'll be asking ourselves the question as to whether the Africa film industry will be able to catch up with the best in the world. So these are the stories we're covering for today's episode. And even though these are exciting stories we'll be talking about, unfortunately, we are starting on a very sad note, and that has to do with the passing on um, the one of Africa's legend, not necessarily from the main continent, but from Jamaica, still, an African. That is Jimmy Cliff. And I know others, so for those who may not know extensively as to what he's been in, yes, most people know him to be a musician, but on this platform, because I know that he starred in a movie called The Harder They Come, it's befitting that I cover this story of such a legend and an icon, a reggae pioneer who unfortunately has passed on to, and it is, I mean, he's passed on at the age of 81. And even though we know that these things are inevitable, sometimes when we hear the passing of such great legends like that, it breaks our hearts. And indeed, it's something that we wish, I mean, wasn't part of life, but that is the issue. So just to read a brief on it, the Hollywood Reporter published an article on him, and it says that Jimmy Cliff, reggae pioneer and star of The Harder They Come, dies at 81. And for those who perhaps may not know anything about him at all, he he's done several iconic songs like I am born to win. I am born to win. I hope I'm not demonetized. So I am born to win, and then you can get it if you really want some nice songs that you can ever think of. Let me quickly read a couple of paragraphs. So Jimmy Cliff, the reggae legend and star of The Harder They Come, the 1972 movie and soundtrack that brought Jamaican music to the world, has died. He was 81. The Jamaican musician and actor died following a seizure and battle with pneumonia. His wife, Latifah Chambers, wrote Monday on Instagram. I am thankful for his family, friends, fellow artists, and co workers who have shared his journey with him. She wrote to all his fans around the world, please know that your support was his strength throughout his whole career. He really appreciated each and every fan for their love. And yeah, it is sad. It is sad. But some of his iconic achievements, if I'm to read on, says that the first international star of reggae, that is how iconic of a legend he is, and one of its greatest ambassadors. Cliff had his first hit in 1969 with a single, Wonderful World, Beautiful People. which reached number 6 in the UK and number 25 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the US. His recording of Johnny Nash's I can see clearly now, included on the soundtrack of Cool Runnings, the 1993 film about the Jamaican Olympic bobsled team, peaked at number 18 in January 1994. I mean, there's a whole lot. He earned a Grammy in 1985 for Best Reggae Recording and also in 2024 for Best Reggae Album Rebirth. So, I mean, we've really lost a legend, and I know fans around the world, particularly diehard fans of his, are really saddened by this particular development. But regardless, it's part of life, and he's really been he's really lit a torch for Africans everywhere, and it is unfortunate that he is passed on. So to his family, to the wife, to everyone who have been impacted so um, um, hard about his death, I like to say to all that my condolences to all of you, and may God heal all of us, our broken hearts, to as to with regards to his passing. So yeah, it is unfortunate that I'm starting on this note, but pardon me. Yeah, so with that, we now move on to our very first story. In the 90s or the late 90s to the early 2000s, the superhero genre of films wasn't as prominent as we have it right now. But we had the Blades, which sort of kicked off to start, or more like a resurgence of the superhero genre. I've been had some in the 80s or the 70s with the Superman and the Batman. Superhero sort of had a rebirth again when the X-Men universe started, and one of the iconic figures that became known for for what it is or was the Wolverine character, even within the ensemble of the X-Men universe. And one actor became so synonymous with the character that it was quite difficult or impossible or inseparable from the character, and that is none other than Hugh Jackman. And following the successful release of Deadpool and Wolverine just a couple of years ago, well, we never even thought that he would return to play that role since he died, or his character died in the Logan movie released in 2017. So it became much of a surprise when finally Hugh Jackman said he was returning. And well, we thought that after this, perhaps he may, retire his clause. Well, on in an interview that he granted to Entertainment News for the is it a Graham Norton show, Hugh Jackman was asked whether there is any possibility, is it really final now that he will not be returning to that particular role? Well, it looks like he has changed his tune now to something else, and I would like us to take a brief read at it. So this is what Hugh Jackman had to say in the I don't know whether it's showing. Okay, but let me just take a quick. So this is what Hugh Jackman had to say on that show, and let me quickly highlight the portion that he said. He said, "Every time you are, that is the host speaking. Every time you're on a talk show, you gotta go. Nope, I'm not doing that again. But then you keep making another one, and it's a big hit. So are you gonna have to do it again?" Jackman said, "Maybe I am never saying never ever again, but I did mean it when I said never the first time, until the day when I changed my mind. But I really did for quite a few years. I meant it." And this he said with regards to, hanging the clause a couple of years ago. Pardon me, it looks like I don't know what is wrong um, with my, the browser. The browser is not really showing up well, but pardon me for that. So this is what Hugh Jackman said on the Graham Norton show as to now changing his tune, that he's never going to say never to the possibility of playing the role of Wolverine if offered the opportunity. And I can understand that because sometimes you feel you just have to hang the, their suits and focus on something else. But it looks like, I mean, inarguably, this has become one of his most successful franchise or IP ever. Seeing that Deadpool and Wolverine went on to clock over $1 billion, and that is one of Marvel's successful movies to date. And therefore, for all of us who know that the X-Men are returning big time in the Marvel's Avengers Doomsday, one of the names that was missing at the back of one of the chairs was Hugh Jackman, and speculations abound whether he's going to be in the movie or not. Well, this is not a confirmation that he's returning necessarily in the movie, but at least it gives us much hope that there is the very likelihood that it's going to appear in this film. If not, at least if not in this particular Avengers movie, we it really speaks, it really gives much hope that he may show up in Secret Wars, if not for the Doomsday in particular. And even for Doomsday, as we have it, there is a lot of characters who have not been mentioned yet, but we are speculating that will definitely be revealed finally when that happens. And therefore, it is something that we are all waiting eagerly for next year when it finally releases. Even Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool, even though was not mentioned to be showing up in this movie, there are speculations that he might. Recently, we had the story of Tobey Maguire being confirmed that he would be showing up in Avengers Doomsday. So there is going to be a lot of people showing up, and perhaps the three biggest characters that we're hoping we'll see in a movie together is Tony Stark's Iron Man. That is Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark. I don't know whether there's going to be an iteration of that character showing up in Avengers Doomsday, but we're hoping to see him play off against Tobey Maguire, and then finally, Hugh Jackman. And it looks like it's going to be a dream come true finally when the movie is released come next year. So fans indeed are excited about this development that are happening, even though there's not been an official confirmation from Marvel themselves as to whether Hugh Jackman will be donning the cape or and putting on the claws for Avengers Doomsday. With this new change of statement or tune from Hugh Jackman himself, it really is a strong indication that he may be in one of these movies, but he cannot go ahead to tell us straight away that he is starring in it. And I can understand he doesn't want to spoil anything, but fans, a lot of pundits are actually saying with surety that they cannot tell for sure from any source they have, but they believe so much that he will be showing up, especially seeing that you're going to have the likes of Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Halle Berry, James Marsden, and uh, and the whole lot showing up. So obviously, if they are showing up, would they show up without the marquee, character being Wolverine showing up in the movie? So obviously, I know for sure that with this statement that he has made, it is indeed a high possibility. It is a high probability that he will be returning to don the cape and put on the claws for one of the Avengers films. If not for Doomsday, definitely is going to be for Avengers Secret Wars. And that is quite exciting to see. There are even speculations or rumors that he may actually don the cape for much longer, even beyond Avengers Secret Wars, just as others are speculating that Robert Downey Jr.'s Doom would also, Victor Von Doom may also go way beyond Avengers Secret War. So these are things that are just rumors at the moment, but there may be truth to it, seeing how iconic and instrumental Hugh Jackman's character has been in the X-Men movies and even in his first major appearance in the MCU proper. The movie made 1 billion, so there is the potential for him to be in the movies longer if when when used in any of the movies, he becomes very I mean iconic or quite endeared to the audience. There is the higher possibility and potential that he may stay longer than usual. So we may have to wait patiently and see what will become of Hugh Jackman's character Wolverine in the bigger MCU. And honestly, I'll be excited to see him there just for the nostalgia reason of finally seeing all these characters that are connected finally being realized on the big screen aside the comic books that we know that they sort of they are interconnected. So to finally have Wolverine show up on screen alongside possibly a variant of Iron Man and played by Robert Downey Jr. and Tobey Maguire will be one. It will be one of the dream come true for some of us. That would be quite exciting to see. So let me know what you think. Do you think this indeed, for Hugh Jackman stating that he's saying is not going to say never to playing Wolverine again in the MCU? Do you think it is indeed time for it is actually a confirmation that he will be returning? And also, do you think it's time for him to actually stay away so that a new character would take his place? We know that Jake Schreier will be returning to helm the new X-Men. Do you think it's time for a new Wolverine, a new actor to step in the shoes of of Wolverine? Whatever your thoughts may be, kindly leave it in the comment section below. Now we move on to I think one of the biggest film markets in the world aside USA, and that is China. And for if you've been observing industry information and news all over, one of the things that we have come to realize for a fact is that the box office receipts the world over has sort of dwindled down right after the pandemic. And it is not necessarily because of the pandemic itself that has caused audiences for not returning to the cinemas in their numbers, but also alternative platforms that offers entertainment has become a contributory factor to that for that cause. And more individuals who could go to or who prefer going to the cinemas have now resorted to watching films on their mobile devices or from their in the comfort of their homes due to the streaming services that are available. So there's been a lot of alternative platforms where you can be entertained, perhaps equally, without necessarily going to the cinemas. And that has been the case and been a bane for a lot of the cinema operators. And for that reason, the Wanda Group of China are coming up with innovative ways in order to retain a lot of the customers in the cinemas, particularly the Gen Zers. And this story is captured in an article published in the Hollywood Reporter. And this is what it says that how China's Wanda is turning theaters into youth culture playgrounds. With box office recovery still years away, Wanda Film is betting on co-branded IP events, immersive lobbies, and social first experiences to pull all young audiences off their phones and back into cinemas. And they go on to say that in an age when audiences are spoiled for choice across countless entertainment platforms, it's no secret that cinema operators worldwide are feeling the heat. The numbers alone make for grim reading. When PwC released its annual media and entertainment outlook in July, the industry winced. US cinema revenue, the firm predicted, would not return to its pre pandemic peak of $11.7 billion until 2029. That same year, global box office was forecast to hit $37.7 billion, still shy of the $39.4 billion recorded in 2019. In China, the industry has been eager to highlight signs of recovery. By early October, the country's box office had already surpassed its full year 2024 haul $5.8 billion, reaching $6 billion. At the same time, there's been growing attention on how cinema owners are expanding beyond movies, experimenting with new entertainment offerings designed to pull audiences back, particularly younger viewers more accustomed to streaming and watching content on their phones. And that is quite an innovative way. If you check out the number of innovations they are putting in place, it looks like it's going to work because from their numbers, if it's verified, I think a lot more Gen Zers are returning to the cinemas, and the Wanda Group are finding innovative ways by. Let me see if I can bring up this image, which can, I mean, if you watch the article, it can be found. That's one of the very first image. So let me see. Yeah. So pardon me. So yeah, they are bringing up quite innovative um, things to show to sort of attract audiences back in the cinemas. And yeah, I wanted to show you this. Pardon me. Why is my yeah? So if you check the very first image, so they even have cut out cardboards of some iconic characters in their movies for the cinema goers to come there and take images or pictures with them or selfies with them. And not only that, but the whole cinema hall or cinema venues is being fitted to be what's it called a, an immersive lobby experience rather than just the sole purpose of going to watch movies. So it is being made into a social center where individuals can come and hang out together with going to watch the films as well. So it is indeed a good strategy, seeing that, listen, whether we like it or not, the landscape of the film landscape have changed totally, and perhaps we may never ever go back to those golden years of going to the cinema to watch films and having such high groundbreaking numbers of blockbuster hits for movies ever again. Yes, there will be pockets of it here and there, and it looks like China is recovering. From the US from a survey or from the findings of PwC, the forecast is that it's going to be we are going to recover fully back to the 2019 era in 2029, whereas we should have been way past that time. But due to the challenges of COVID and the alternative platforms that are available now for people to be entertained via movies, these things are changing. So if you take a look at this particular image, these are sort of fixtures that they are putting in place for Gen Zs to hang out and have fun rather than just come and watch films. So it is a whole package that the Wanda Group cinema chain owners are looking at, from food to other entertainment hotspots for in their venue to entertain them, to hang out whilst perhaps they are waiting to go and watch films, or to meet people and have conversations about film, or just have fun, a social event or social gatherings. So they are putting in place certain incentives to sort of attract or lure more cinema paying going audiences to not just come and watch the films, but have more experience than just watching the film. And that is quite interesting to see. And indeed, that I think would help one way or the other to bring people's back into the cinemas. And in other places, it may not be same because still tickets prices are rising high, and that is going to cost, that is preventing a lot of people from going back to the cinema because worldwide economically things are not really the best, and people are not in the best financial standing to shell out such amounts of money to go and watch films when perhaps that same amount of money the same individual can subscribe to a streaming service and have the opportunity to watch on, I mean, limitless number of films in a month. So that has really, turned things around uh, than what it used to be in the past. So it is quite a difficult terrain that, you know, the cinema owners are navigating, but I can understand why China's Wanda theaters are being innovative to ensure that yes, enjoy the entertainment on your phones all you want, but also this is a very good side attraction that you can come to the cinemas after watching your films to participate or use the facilities. And I think that is quite a good thing that they are doing. Seeing the fact that they are recording already high box office numbers, 6 billion already in October. It means that whatever they are doing is actually working well for them, and that is perhaps something very commendable and something that perhaps cinema owners around the world need to sort of adapt, provided that those side attractions don't add to the rising cost of tickets. I'm sure that would help to bring a lot of people back into the cinema. So that is quite interesting to see come. I mean, for China to be doing and how that is paying off for them. So let me know what you think. Do you think experience-based cinema model, that one that is pioneering, is going to become the future of cinema? Whatever your thoughts may be, can leave it in the comments section below. Now, with regards to the story, particularly in this China, this China story and others, it then leads me to ask the question that will the African film industry ever catch up to the world's best? When I'm talking about the world's best, definitely we are talking about that of China, that of US, that of Bollywood, and a host of other cinemas from around the globe that are performing very well. And I'm asking this question because when you take a look as to how globally the revenue for box office have dwindled, already we are struggling, in terms from the continent. How are we going to catch up, let alone even be performing well as they are performing? I mean, perhaps way back in the 2019s or the 2010s. Now we already are faced with, I mean, in terms of revenue, it's dwindling. The question is, can we catch up? Well, it looks like there's been a lot of things put in place to help Africa cinema catch up. And already from Bollywood to a lot of the stakeholders who are putting in place certain infrastructure, it looks like it's very promising for that to happen. Some time back, the Netflix and Amazon and I think HBO is still in Africa, not as HBO but Showmax. They did help open the possibilities as to how African films can perform globally. And even though they have reduced their support for the industries, which is understandable, seeing that they are not making the bottom line money that they were expecting, it looks like heavy players in the industry are showing up, are stepping into that gap that have been created. So you have Mo Abudu with this Ebony live stream or Ebony on stream or something. And you have so many other streaming platforms coming up in Africa to fill that gap as well. You also have distribution platform companies that are stepping in the gap to distribute films all across Africa. And even excitingly, Canal Plus, which is also a foreign entity, has come to acquire the multi-choice platform services, and they are looking at distributing films across the Africa, both I mean, across Africa, especially along the divide, the language divide. When I'm talking about a language divide, I'm talking about the Anglophone and the Francophone countries. So they are really hell bent in making things work in the longer term. So the on the broader scope, currently, as if you take a look at the industries now, it is not as easy. The numbers, the data, the little data that is available doesn't seem so promising. But if you take a look also globally, how African films are performing at the International Film Festival, it looks like when we talk about stories in terms of rich storytelling, we are doing quite well. And these films are winning awards all over the place. And it speaks to how far we have come in terms of the craft of storytelling. However, the business side is where we are also looking at. There's been projections as to how much Africa will be making come 2030. I think we'll be making $20 billion come 2030 by a UNESCO report. So there are indicators that shows that Africa is doing well. As to whether we'll be able to perform on the very scale or scope as to the others are performing, that I cannot speak to it for sure. But it also shows the challenges, the deeper challenges that we are facing with regards to funding and investment, piracy, infrastructure deficiencies, and policy and regulatory support. And if you've been watching this channel for quite some time, I've always been hammering or or stressing on the fact that without the three factors of policy enforcement or policy enactment and infrastructure and also data, the films in Africa or the film industry in Africa will face quite an uphill battle. And we should even be making more than $20 billion, seeing that the Africa African continent is the second most populous continent in the world after Asia. So it means that we have the numbers. However, economic challenges makes it quite difficult to be able uh, to 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 reconcile the numbers together with the revenue. However, it is a step in the right direction that despite the fact that we are not making much in terms of revenue, well, it looks promising with all the things being put in place. And you can see across board, not just among Africans, but also among Africans and other people from other continents. We are making movies together and we are tapping into the markets of both continents or of different continents as well. So these are quite promising indicators that yes, we may not be able to catch up. Perhaps we may not be able to catch up with the best of the industries in the world, but at least we are getting somewhere positive, somewhere good. More can be done and more should be done if we really want to make the $20 billion and even break that, go beyond that projection. So there's a lot that has to be put in place, but so far so good. It looks like Africa, we are doing the best we can from this year in particular. A lot of stories, and not just this year alone, but last year as well. A lot of African stories performed well at several prestigious film festivals, and that is indeed a sure indication of for it. And also with audiences from all over the globe seeking for diversity of storytelling, it looks like if we position ourselves well, we can be a major force to contend with, where we have several stories that are being told. And perhaps across board, what we need is necessary support to elevate our production value across all films that we make in Africa. And that perhaps may go a long way to change the game in favor for the African film industry. So let me know what you think. And there's a lot more to talk about this. Perhaps at the right time, I think we would have to delve deeper into it. But what do you think is the biggest hurdle for African films, from of the continent to gain more global market share? Is it funding? Is it distribution? Or just perception? And whatever you think about it, kindly leave it in the comment section below. And all too soon, I've come to an end of this episode of the Film Mandate. Thanks so much for joining me. And whatever your thoughts may be on any of the episodes I've done so far or this particular episode, I'll be so glad to welcome whatever suggestions or questions you may have. Kindly leave it in the comment section below. And thanks so much for joining me. I'll come your way again tomorrow with exciting stories from the, from around the world, from Africa and the international scene. And we'll be talking about all these and more also right here on the Film Mandate. So my name is Papa Otu, and this has been the Film Mandate. I'll see you soon.